So, I wasn't originally going to do anything about this topic because I think it's kind of stupid, to be honest. But I figure it's here, it's relevant, why not discuss it? So, this is the controversy around Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. There's an article from The Gamer that says Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is yet another victim of leopards eating faces. I don't know if I've ever heard that analogy before, but alright. So, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, slated for release February 4th, occupies a very weird place in the gaming culture war right now, largely because of its director, Daniel Vavra. So, this game has been a little bit on the controversial side for weeks now, and my opinion on the matter is I think it is entirely the fault of the developers for just simply not being quiet. They have tried really hard to damage control, and it's ended up completely backfiring on them. The first Kingdom Come Deliverance, the first game from years ago, was actually really successful. A lot of people really liked it. I played it. I didn't really care for it that much. It was, honestly, I found it kind of boring, but a lot of people did like it, so, good for them. And the sequel has been pretty anticipated. But now that it's actually coming out, and it's coming out fairly soon, there are some problems that have been arising as of late. So, Vavra has been a controversial figure since Gamergate first surfaced. He's expressed support for Gamergate talking points, spoken out against woke activists, and famously made himself this shirt, which takes us to made myself a t-shirt, based. White privileged, able-bodied, cisgender, basement dwelling man, baby virgin scum. I don't even know what that word is. MRN neckbeard shitlord. Alright. In the months leading up to Kingdom Come Deliverance 2's launch, he's largely continued to align himself with the resurgence of Gamergaters, who often referred to as Gamergate 2.0, which then led many figureheads of the movement to hold it up as the biggest anti-woke game of the year. That's true. I've been noticing a lot of people have been propping this game up as, like, the biggest and best anti-woke thing out there right now. And that's where the story kind of gets a little weird. There's nuance to this, of course. The people yelling over each other on Twitter will tell you he denied that Kingdom Come Deliverance represents his political views, saying that 90% of the actual writing was done by other writers with a different perspectives. He's insisted repeatedly that the lack of diversity in the first game was criticized for was in the service of historical accuracy. So essentially, because of a lack of black or brown or colored characters in the original game, they did that because of historical accuracy, which is true. The game takes place in Bohemia. Don't remember the exact time period, but it was a time period where there weren't a whole lot of black people walking around. It was probably 99.999% white people. So, nothing racist about having a game taking place in a location with a historically accurate skin tone of characters. So now we get to why is the game controversial? So here it says, as we all know, Gamergaters don't want to see diversity in games. It's kind of their whole deal. An unsubstantiated rumor about Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 being banned in Saudi Arabia over immoral scenes recently made the rounds on Twitter, with people claiming this was due to an unskippable gay scene. Separately, they were also angry about black characters in the game and lectures about feminism. So, this news came about a couple weeks ago when it was revealed that in Saudi Arabia, the game was banned and you basically can't play it, you can't purchase it. This is because Saudi Arabia, as you know, is a Muslim country. Muslim countries have very strict laws against not only gay, but just LGBTQ stuff in general. They don't like it. They don't want to see it. They don't want to deal with it. They don't want any part of it. So, if there was news of a gay scene in the game, it is likely going to get banned or just completely canceled in that country. This recently happened with Final Fantasy XVI. Final Fantasy XVI had a gay character and a gay scene in it where the two guys kissed. There was no sex or anything, but they just kissed. And because of this, the game was banned in Saudi Arabia. The issue here is the game says it was banned for immoral scenes. However, it made no reference to anything being gay. that's where people have been kind of running with this. The whole gay part is pretty unconfirmed. Um, what happened next is on the forums, if I scroll down far enough, oh, here it is. So what happened next is the publisher Deep Silver rolled out a new code of conduct on the Steam forums, barring a comprehensive list of behavior including racism, sexism, homophobia, and transphobia, and various kinds of hate speech. This made the community even angrier because they felt that their legitimate concern was being censored. This is where the problem is, because everything else leading up to here, I didn't really see that big of a deal. Yeah, there's gonna be sex in it. It's what, an M-rated game. There's gonna be that kind of stuff. So for people to get upset about it, there's always gonna be people being upset about sex in games. It's always gonna happen. But what happened was the Steam page made rules against saying certain things, effectively censoring people's free speech. That made myself and a lot of other people pretty upset because that's something that you just can't do. You're never going to be seen as a good person if you're trying to police what other people say. And so that's what made a lot of people upset. That's why people got angry. I don't think it was necessarily because they felt their point wasn't getting across. I think people were getting upset because they simply could not say what they wanted to any longer. Valve also put out a statement that Gamergaters considered to be vague as it didn't explicitly deny or confirm if there was an unskippable gay scene or not. This is also true. The game is exactly what I wanted it to be. Our goal was and still is to show life in medieval Bohemia as it easily could have happened and to tell an interesting story. It is purely up to the player what decisions they make and are responsible for the consequences that correspond to the morals and social norms of the time. This is where a little nuance comes in, because if the game has gay stuff in it, that's fine, because it's a role-playing game. If you want to be gay, you can do that. If you want to experience those cutscenes or those character interactions, you can do that if you want to. Same thing with, Baldur's Gate 3. When Baldur's Gate 3 came out a while ago, I played it. There was all this talk about the game is extremely woke, extremely gay, so many just multi-relationships that you could do. I didn't experience any of that because I didn't want to. I made my character a male, and I romanced Shadowheart, just like probably most everybody else did. But that was it for me. I made my character a male, and I romanced Shadowheart, and that was it. I didn't hardly have any flirtatious reactions with anybody else in the entire game. And if the other characters came on to me, I just quickly said, no, I'm not interested. I don't like you like that. Stop flirting with me. And that was the end of it. So, it goes back to that meme of you control the buttons you press. It's a role-playing game. It's an RPG. If you don't want to experience certain things, you don't have to. Just don't do it. He later put out a long thread to address the controversy. He clarified that there are no unskippable cutscenes. The game hasn't been banned anywhere to their knowledge. The presence of racial diversity is historically justified, and yes, the protagonist can have a same-sex adventure, and since it's an RPG, you can choose whether to take part or not. And that is really what the big issue here is. If you don't want to see it, then just don't do it. It's not exactly being forced upon you, so if you don't want to see it, just don't interact with it. The last part is important. Most games aren't forcing you to play a gay character, but from very rare exceptions like Horizon or The Last of Us, it is, on its face, an entirely true and fair thing to say. Nobody's forcing you to be gay. Unfortunately, Valve seems to have misunderstood what Gamergate is actually about. While some prominent faces of the movement are saying all of this isn't really that big a deal, the replies are full of people saying they've refunded the game, that Valve hid the inclusion of the same-sex romance because he knew it would be controversial and that he should have just not added the romance at all. That's because the movement isn't about developers having freedom to add what they want to according to personal preferences or forced diversity. It's about anti-progressivism. It's not about players being forced to play the way. It's not about players being able to play the way they want, but about not giving players the option to do anything that could be considered woke. There's no winning when you side with Leopard because oh, here we that weird analogy again. They don't care about the developers. They regularly talk about how they can tank studios and do things. They don't care about free speech unless it's to they can express hate speech. We're not gonna. Yeah, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in hate speech. I don't think that's a thing. All speech is free speech. You can say whatever you want. But yeah, that's the general gist of what this whole article is about. I wasn't originally going to do anything because I thought this whole drama was just stupid. And in my opinion, I'm kind of honestly on the side of I want the game to fail just because the developers have done such a bad job of representing the game, because all of this controversy and drama could have been avoided if they were just upfront, honest, and transparent, but they weren't. They thought they were being cool, they thought they were being cute. Instead, it came around and bit them in the ass, and now they're getting completely raked for it. So I think the game is still going to do relatively well. I mean, it's hyped up since the first one. I think it's going to be good. But I wouldn't be surprised if the devs take a hit from this because of their poor handling of the whole subject. But yeah, that's my thoughts on this story, and if you got to the end, thank you all for watching.